Welcome to Shadows of the Past, the place where we explore the darkest and most terrifying stories that have left an indelible mark on our culture. Today, we venture into the Venezuelan plains, where the wind carries a sound that chills the blood, the whistle of El Silbón. This legend, deeply rooted in Venezuelan folklore, is not just a tale of horror, but also a warning about the consequences of hatred and disobedience. Join me on this journey through the curse that doomed a young man to wander for eternity, bearing the weight of his crime. Are you ready to uncover the truth behind El Silbón? Let's begin. Night fell over the Venezuelan plains like an endless shroud of darkness. The crickets sang their eerie melody, and the cold wind slithered through the shrubs, carrying with it a terrifying sound, a chilling whistle that heralded the arrival of death. The elders tell the story of a young man who lived centuries ago on a remote hacienda, far from any trace of civilization. He was spoiled and violent, a boy who grew up without respect or love for anyone, least of all his own family. His father, a hard-working and tough man, tried to correct him, but hatred had already taken root in the boy's heart. One afternoon, blinded by rage and contempt, the young man demanded venison for dinner. His father, exhausted from working the fields, explained that hunting was no simple task, that animals didn't just appear by magic. But the boy refused to accept any excuses. Driven mad by anger, he grabbed a sharp knife and without hesitation plunged the blade into his own father's chest again and again. Blood soaked the earth as the light faded from the man's eyes. When the boy's mother discovered what he had done, she screamed in horror, cursing her murderous son. The grandparents, upon learning of the atrocity, gathered the rest of the family. That night, in an ancestral ritual of punishment, they captured the young man and tied him to a tree. With leather whips, they lashed him until his skin was torn and raw. Then, with pain and fury in his eyes, his grandfather spoke a curse that would echo through eternity. "You are condemned. You will wander forever, haunted by your crime. Death will shun you, and suffering will pursue you until the end of time." As a final act of punishment, they sliced open his abdomen and filled his belly with his father's bones. Then, they set him loose in the vastness of the plains, where hunger, thirst, and terror would become his only companions. Since then, El Silbón has roamed the darkness, wandering and cursed. His unmistakable whistle follows an eerie pattern. It shifts from a high pitch to a low one, as if an infernal melody were escaping from his lips. They say his whistle is deceiving. If you hear it up close, it means you're still safe. But if you hear it from afar, it's already too late. Some travelers claim to have seen him, a tall and skeletal figure, wearing tattered clothes and carrying a massive sack on his back, where he stores the bones of his victims. His face is a mask of suffering, with sunken, empty eyes, and his steps are heavy, as if his curse anchors him to the world of the living. He appears on lonely roads, in abandoned ranches, and especially on stormy nights when the wind howls fiercely and thunder rumbles in the sky. His favorite victims are womanizers and drunkards who wander alone at night, for he is said to despise those who follow in the footsteps of his deceased father. Those who have felt his presence say an unnatural cold envelops them before the whistle reaches their ears. A chilling wind raises goosebumps on their skin, and an overwhelming sense of impending doom takes hold of their bodies. If they have the misfortune of seeing him, they must pray and beg for mercy. For once El Silbón sets his eyes on someone, there is no escape. There is a story of a farmer who, after a long day's work, stayed drinking at a tavern until the late hours of the night. He decided to walk home, staggering along the dark trails of the plains. Along the way, an intense cold surrounded him, and suddenly he heard a whistle in the distance. His body tensed, and his drunkenness disappeared instantly. He quickened his pace, but the whistle did not stop. When he finally thought he had reached the safety of his ranch, he felt a presence behind him. Slowly, he turned, and in the moonlight, he saw the thin, ghostly silhouette of El Silbón with his sack full of bones. The next day, the farmer was nowhere to be found. Only his tattered clothes and the ground covered in shattered bones remained. Another tale speaks of a child who, disobeying his grandmother's warnings, went out to play in the woods at dusk. The old woman had told him to stay silent, that if he heard the whistle, he should remain still and pray. But curiosity got the better of him. He ventured among the trees, and suddenly the air turned ice cold. A sorrowful whistle drifted through the leaves. The boy felt an enormous shadow behind him and saw two deep, terrifying eyes watching him. He screamed, and just as the creature reached for him with its bony hand, his grandmother's voice called from afar. As if the spell had been broken, El Silbón vanished into the darkness, leaving only a stench of death in the air. Legends of El Silbón have been passed down for generations. In the plains, families light candles and hang hot chili peppers on their doors to ward him off. It is also said that dogs, especially large black ones, can scare him away with their barking. Some believe that the sound of a whip or a loud scream can make him disappear for a moment, but he never truly leaves. They say drunkards and womanizers are his favorite prey, but sometimes he attacks without reason. In some homes across the plains, people have found enormous footprints in the earth, accompanied by an unbearable stench, and at times even missing persons. A traveler once recounted his encounter with El Silbón. He said that while he slept in a small village, a chilling sensation woke him. He felt something watching him from the window. Trembling, heart pounding, he peeked outside. In the shadows, he saw a tall, thin figure carrying a massive sack. The whistle began softly, but soon became deafening. He couldn't move. He felt a presence in the room, and when he turned, two sunken eyes stared at him from the dark corner. By dawn, the traveler was found in shock, muttering over and over, the whistle never stopped." The truth is, no one is ever completely safe. On the darkest nights, when the wind howls with a ghostly lament, it's best to lock your doors and windows and pray you never hear the whistle, because if you do, it may already be too late. El Silbón is, without a doubt, one of the most fascinating and terrifying legends of Latin America. His story reminds us that pain and vengeance can transcend even death. But it also leaves us with a chilling question. What would you do if, on a dark and lonely night, you heard that dreadful whistle? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Shadows of the Past for more horror stories and real-life cases. And if you've ever encountered something unexplainable, leave your story in the comments. Who knows, maybe your experience will be the next story we explore together. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the shadows. Remember, no matter how dark the night, there is always a story waiting to be told. Until next time, and beware of whistling in the dark.